I don't throw the term expert around loosely, but when it comes to my next guest and when it comes to NBA basketball, he is everything and then some. Super stoked to talk with Kevin Danna, the voice of the Santa Cruz Warriors. We're talking about all the newbies. There are new players. There is even a new coach. We're breaking all that down next. This is Locked On Warriors.
You are Locked On Warriors, your daily Golden State Warriors podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for making Locked On Warriors your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. You can follow Kevin Danna, the voice of the Santa Cruz Warriors, on Twitter at Kevo408. You can follow me. I'm hyping up Threads, man. I'm going to be there once Threads gets their act together. It's a full-time thing, so I'm promoting my handle there now. You can follow me on Threads at Dog Wild, still on Twitter at Dog Surf Roadshow. Kevin, it is great to see you. You've had a busy summer, dude, and you're covering like a lot of different teams. Obviously, the Santa Cruz Warriors are your club. The Golden State Warriors are your club. Victor Wembanyama became your adopted son for the last year or so. How have you been, man, before you get into Warriors? How's life treating you?
Yeah, it's cool, man. It's been it has been a busier summer than anticipated, which is both good and bad. I'm really trying to do absolutely nothing for a while. You seen Office Space?
Of course.
Cyrus? Okay.
Of course.
So when what was his name? Peter Gibson or something like that says, he said, you know what I would do with $1 million? Absolutely nothing. That's
exactly
how I feel. Like,
that's my mantra, bro. I'm all about doing nothing and then more nothing. That's my life, and it makes me happy.
So hopefully there's a little bit of time in August where I can do absolutely nothing. That would be the hope. But yeah, no, it's been cool. Vegas was fun. It was long. It was 10 days, but it was fun.
I love it. Well, it's good to see you. So is this not a period of nothingness for you right now? You're still busy?
It is not a period of complete nothingness. I do some work for a women's semi-pro league in the Bay Area, the WPBA, which is based in Alameda.
Okay.
So I broadcast a couple of games every Saturday for them. Fun and upcoming league. So I do some work there. And then, other stuff kind of in the pipeline that I'm not at liberty to discuss right now. Like, not state secrets or anything.
Well, we're talking
maybe some UFOs, like the House meeting that they're having going on today.
Well, we'll talk off the air because you got me curious. AC, by the way, writes, you don't need $1 million to do nothing. You kind of do, man. I mean, rent's not cheap. Mortgages aren't cheap. Food isn't cheap. All these apps and internet you're subscribing to isn't cheap. It's actually expensive to do nothing. So I don't agree. But Bruce Morrow writes that you have a museum behind you.
So let me explain, everyone. You are looking in my childhood bedroom. I'm taking care of my dad right now because my mom's out of town. So this is where I slept growing up. You can see by the logos of the Dallas Mavericks and the Phoenix Suns and the Golden State Warriors and the Houston Rockets, that these are old banners, right? Like those from the early 90s. You can't, let me see. You might be able to see some of my mini helmets. If I turn this way, I have all 32 NFL teams. Got to move my head.
Oh, I see them in the case. You have them in a case.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
If
you're listening to this on the podcast, you got to check out YouTube so you can see Kevin Danna's childhood, his boyhood room. What's on the ceiling? What do you got taped up there?
So posters from Digital Blasphemy. Well, it was a great digital wallpaper website. I mean, if you want to know why I'm 36 and single, just look at my childhood bedroom. Gives you a good idea.
There you go, man. All right. Thank you for giving us some insights into your personal life. I love it. You're I don't know where you're born, but you were raised in San Jose.
San Jose, baby. Born and raised.
Born. There you go. Well, the Golden State Warriors, it's been a while since you've come on the program. Last time you were on, you weren't able to talk about a lot of things because a lot of the signings that the Warriors made was not official. You're an employee of the Golden State Warriors. There are strict rules. totally get it. That's okay. But now everything's official. Now you can talk about it. But before we get to the players, I want to talk first about a coach. Now Monty Poole of NBC Sports Bay Area tweeted out 2 days ago that his sources are telling him that Kris Weems, a player development coach, I believe a former head coach of the Santa Cruz Warriors, he's being elevated to Jama Malalaila's former job on the bench, basically the number 2 man behind Steve Kerr and then behind Kenny Atkinson. I'm guessing a lot of folks have no idea what he's about. I don't know what he brings to the table. Maybe a lot of people may even feel that his position is not that important. If that's your opinion, I wholeheartedly disagree with you there. I find that position, what Jama Malalaila was doing, what his predecessors were doing, that's important work. Steve Kerr does rely on his assistants. What is your reaction to Kris Weems? The floor is yours, sir. Take it away.
Yeah, so A, I'm happy to be able to talk about players. B, I know Kris Weems very well. While it may or may not be official per se, like I can still talk about what I know about Kris Weems and everything, since he is on the staff and all that. So I'll dance around a little of the red tape and do this as best I can without jeopardizing my spot with the C-Dubs. But
Sounds good.
I love Kris Weems. He was our head coach from 2019 to 2021. Just a guy who gets it, I would say, is the best way to. So
he's smart. You trust him.
No, smart dude. I mean, so he played at Stanford. He was on their Final Four team. He's a native of Kansas City.
Wait, that's the team with Adam Keefe? Right? Or
no,
is that his name?
Keefe is older than him.
Okay.
Mark Madsen. He was on like the Mark Madsen team. The Arthur Lee was the point guard.
Yeah. Okay. Yes.
Tim Young, who was a former Golden State Warriors 2nd round draft pick in the late 90s. So that was the team that he played on.
Mike Montgomery was a coach of that team, right?
Yeah, Mike Montgomery, former Warriors head coach, former Cal and Stanford head coach.
Yeah, dude.
So he's I mean, he just obviously is a smart dude. He went to Stanford. He handles players very well. Like, he's not afraid to have tough conversations, and he's not afraid to have tough conversations with like the most important players on the team. I know this from experience from like times in Santa Cruz where he's had to pull guys aside. We're like, hey, either A, you're not pulling your weight, or B, like, let's have a man-to-man, a heart-to-heart. So he's not afraid to have those kind of conversations. Has a really good, what I'd say, a professional sideline demeanor. Like, he's not one of those college coaches he's not one of the, if you watch like a college basketball game, not every coach is like this, but like the traditional college basketball head coach is like ranting and raving on the sidelines. You're thinking about like a Bobby Knight, or like even a Sean Miller today, great coaches, but like, there's just like sweat dripping from them. Like, Sean Miller's not going to throw a chair, but like, just like super, super freaking intense. It's like, he's got he's more of like the Mark Daignault, the Oklahoma City Thunder head coach, just kind of like, more of that professional vibe of like, all right, more analytical of what's going on instead of being so emotionally attached to everything, like to every single possession. Like, don't get me wrong, he cares, he really, but like it's not like he's going to just like lose his mind on an 8-0 run or something like, and it wouldn't be his job to lose his mind on an 8-0 run on the Golden State bench, but like, good sideline demeanor, never really had a moment with the media in Santa Cruz where he was like flustered or upset with it. Like, he knows how to handle himself. That the best thing I can say about like Kris Weems, or maybe not the best, but like he just knows how to handle himself.
Gotcha.
And so, I think this guy, should get all the flowers he can. I am a big, big, big Kris Weems fan. Awesome dude. Like, just beyond that, beyond like the coaching stuff, just like a great guy, and someone I really enjoyed, getting a chance to chat with for those 2 seasons. Led the Santa Cruz Warriors to the G League semifinals in the bubble after a 1-3 start. He really helped develop Jordan Poole that year, right? Like, Jordan Poole played 11, 12 games in the bubble that season for the Santa Cruz Warriors. Right. And remember, it was his second season. It was very roller coaster start to his second season. And when he came back from Santa Cruz, he was a different dude. We saw it Jordan Poole's rookie year.
Right.
Rough start to his rookie year. 3 games with the Santa Cruz Warriors. Were coached by Chris Weems at the time. Came back and was a much better player over like the last 27, 28 games pre-March 11th, Oklahoma City Thunder, Utah Jazz. Let's shut down the world. So
yeah, that great moment in life. Absolutely. I'm being facetious. But no, so I want to break down Chris Weems, and we're obviously going to talk about all the other new players, Chris Paul, the draft picks, Dario Šarić, and so much more. Got to give some love first to FanDuel, the official sports book of the Locked On Podcast Network. And right now it's baseball season. When I'm sweating like this in my own house, that means it's summer. That means baseball is cracking. Take your first swing at betting on Major League Baseball on FanDuel and get 10 times your first bet amount in bonus bets up to $200. That's right. Just bet $20 and you'll land $200 in bonus bets, whether you win or lose. That's $200 you could spend betting everything from the money line to the over-under to who you think is going to hit the first home run. And it's all on an app that's safe, secure, and super easy to use. Plus, when you win, you get paid instantly. I know FanDuel is still illegal here in California, where we broadcast Locked On Warriors. I've tried it out in other states. I want my FanDuel. If you could play with FanDuel now, you are stoked. And there's no better place to bet on Major League Baseball than FanDuel. America's
number one. Get you a VPN, Cyrus.
It's the VPN. Well, have you tried that? Are you
I had to do it in grad school. Like, for some reason, we needed a VPN for something. So I've been on the I don't have one now, but if you want, maybe I shouldn't be giving this advice out on Locked On Warriors.
Whatever.
But,
you're the guest.
Baby.
There might be ethical issues if I'm sending that message. You're fine, dude. So I'm curious. I thought for some reason someone had told me that FanDuel was VPN proof. If they're
really?
Not,
I don't know. See, I can't gamble on sports, so I don't know. I'm just I know people use VPNs to gamble. Say they're not in the United States for like poker purposes or whatever. But.
Well, yeah, you're a poker player, and look, FanDuel is loving what you're saying right now, Kevin. So there's no issues. There's no better place to bet on Major League Baseball than FanDuel. Sign up today. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and get your VPN. So even here in California, you might be able to play to get up to $200 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon. That's a fantastic advertising opportunity, by the way. Follow this ad with a VPN client. That would be your package there, folks. Locked On. Get on that. FanDuel, the official partner of Major League Baseball.
You are Locked On Warriors, your daily Golden State Warriors podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for making Locked On Warriors your first listen every day. For the everydayers, that's folks who chime in and tune in for literally every show we do. Follow us on Twitter at Locked On Dubs. That's where we announce all our show times, upcoming guests. Still awaiting word on a Warriors assistant coach who's going to join the program soon. As soon as the scheduling is finalized, it's happening. Yeah, Kevin, we're actually going to get a member of the Golden State Warriors coaching staff on this show, which is pretty wild. You can follow the voice of the Santa Cruz Warriors, Kevin Danna, on Twitter at Kevo408. Bruce Morrow, real fast, FanDuel or Price Picks, which one is better? They're just different. Price Picks is all about over-unders on individuals. It is legal in California. FanDuel is your general sports gambling website and gambling, period. You can do poker like what Kevin Danna loves. Kev's BTRFLI writes, love your shirt, Kevin.
Thank
is that
you.
Biggie Smalls?
It's like that. It's that classic Biggie one that you see, right? Like in the different colors and stuff like that. So
Love it, man.
Thank you for the shout out.
So Tim Ford has a criticism of current number one Warriors assistant Kenny Atkinson, calling him a computer coach, and the only reason I brought that up is because it raised a question in my mind, which I want to ask you, Kevin. What kind of is Chris Weems analytical based? Is he more of a motivational style coach? Is he both? How would you describe him more specifically in that regard in terms of analytics?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how to answer that one super well, but I would say I've seen more analytical coaches in Santa Cruz, and I've seen more emotional coaches too. Like okay. I think he kind of hits a nice happy medium. Like obviously, like if you're coaching in the Golden State Warriors organization, you got to have a handle on analytics. Like you just do. But like it doesn't come across to me like when I was talking with Chris Weems that like that's the only thing he cares about. Like he was a player himself at a very high level.
Right.
Like he knows how to connect on that level, and he just knows kind of like the flow of the game and stuff like that. So I would push back a little bit on the can't we get rid of computer coach. Right on, Mr. Holder. Yeah, no, great shirt. But I mean, weren't we all singing Kenny's praises when they won the 2022 NBA title, and like it was seen as like a huge coup to keep him from being the Charlotte Hornets head coach?
All right, so
like one season later, when they finished in the top 8 of the NBA, now all of a sudden we want to like skewer this guy? I don't understand it. Like, I generally
in the NBA in terms of record, they were top 8. Is that correct?
Well, I mean, they made it to the quarterfinals.
So I see what you're saying.
Top
okay,
8
I hear
of the world, the NBA.
I hear you.
And therefore the world of basketball. But like I generally think unless you are a coach or a player who has played Division I at the or division, some level of college basketball, at the very least, I don't think that we necessarily have all the tools to correctly criticize coaches.
Interesting.
Like, because I just don't think we know the game well enough to say, like, there are some people who, yeah, they really know the game. I know I don't know the game well enough to say, oh, this coach sucks, or like this guy blows, or stuff like. And so, like, I find a lot of it just kind of like, well, what evidence do you really have to say this guy sucks? And I know I defer a lot to coaches and players because I've like been on that side as a manager. Certainly not a thinking man's position, a yes sir, no sir, yes coach, no coach kind of job.
Right.
And so I just know that those people will forget more basketball than I'll ever know. And so, yeah, I always kind of pause when I say, oh, this coach is the problem or that coach is probably not.
Well, here's I think where the angst came from, and here's where criticism started to emerge from my perspective. One is we didn't know until very late in the season just how analytics driven Atkinson is, and then there was an attribution that came out very late in the year last year where Steve Kerr revealed that him and Kenny Atkinson have daily conversations about analytics, and that Kenny Atkinson is his analytics guy, and that he's leaning on him heavily to rely on these numbers. And then from there, when you saw the fact that you're right, the Warriors did finish in the top 8, you could also make the argument, though, that they underachieved. This was a reigning world champion.
1,000. So I 1,000% agree with that. They should have been much better than 44 and 38. That team should have won at least 50 games last year. I'm not debating that.
And then there's the fact that Kenny Atkinson was promoted to be the defensive coordinator this last year, and their defense regressed. I'm just trying to explain why the criticism is being directed toward Kenny Atkinson. You're right. 2 years ago, people were ecstatic that they retained him, that he didn't accept that he didn't take the job in Charlotte, came back, and then a year later, again, times changed tremendously. And then another thing that stuck out too is I don't know if you remember in the playoffs, JaMychal Green, he had that exemplary game 3. And then he got on that shouting match with Atkinson on the sideline, and there was just a lot of little things that kind of added up.
I forgot the shouting match with Atkinson. Wait, game 3 against the Lakers or the Kings?
It was Lakers. I don't know if it was game 3. If it was
it was game 2, right? The game they won where he just like went off, right?
Yes. Yeah, it was a 2.
So I was at the game, so like I didn't see like the TV footage of.
Yeah, JaMychal got yanked, and then and then him and Kenny had this back and forth where they were just shouting at each other. JaMychal, I think, did come back in the game later, and then we never saw him again in the series. The last year was just a mess. I think it's just best to move on, right? But anyways, what are your last time we had you on? We didn't get a chance to talk about Chris Paul that much. Are we moving on from Chris Weems? By the way, I guess let me finish up with this. Are you happy with Chris Weems being one of the top assistants for Steve Kerr? Your final thoughts before we move on from that.
Well, like I said, if it hasn't been announced, then I can't like officially say if he is No, like I think Chris Weems is a heck of a coach, and I think like he's definitely deserving of some promotion.
There you go. There you go. And
Yeah.
I'm absolutely loving what I'm hearing so far. So Chris Weems, and again, I'm going to try to get him on the show. In fact, I'm very curious to pick his brain now that apparently we're slowly climbing the ladder with the Warriors organization in terms of guest bookings. So assistant coaches right now seem to be a green light. So I'm going to try to get Chris on the show soon. But right now we got Kevin, Danna. You haven't had a chance to share your thoughts on Chris Paul. Let's start there. And he's been in the news for a few reasons. Draymond Green made some comments about him and Chris Paul have had battles in the past. That was real life. It wasn't faked on the court, the animosity between the two, but now they're teammates. Chris Paul has been non-committal in terms of his role. He was asked about whether or not he would come off the bench. He was non-committal to that. We all know his resume. Anyone who follows basketball knows how good of a player he is. They're also aware maybe of his age, his injury history. What are your thoughts with Chris Paul now being a member of the Golden State Warriors?
Yeah, I mean, at first I was sad to lose Jordan Poole. Like my knee-jerk reaction, I was actually buying my Chevy Bolt when it happened, when the news broke.
Congratulations.
I got an electric car, everyone. You can all congratulate me. Thank you. I'm saving the planet single-handedly.
I remember the day you were busy getting a car, so you got a Chevy Bolt?
Yeah, so I got a Chevy Bolt with a B, not a V. The V is the hybrid, which I don't think they make anymore. But
congrats.
So yeah, thank you. So like, I mean, I love Jordan Poole. Like, and I understand why people got frustrated with Jordan Poole. I'm of the belief that you have to live with those growing pains because not everyone has the cojones to take the shots that Jordan Poole takes.
True.
That being said, I do think it makes a lot of sense what Golden State did. Like, $120 million is a lot to have on the books.
Yes.
And
agreed.
You move off that long-term deal, which is huge for Golden State to have that flexibility. Because, like, worst case scenario, Chris Paul's injured, it doesn't work out. Okay, you're committed to him for this season and this season only. But if it does work out, then cool. Maybe we can work a little something. Appreciate that, DP.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like, I mean, I think it makes a lot of sense. And especially if Steve Kerr likes to play veterans, this is going to, assuming a healthy Chris Paul, he's still got something in the tank. Like when he was healthy last year, he was pretty damn good. Still pretty damn good. Like this guy's a 12-time All-Star. And if he can, like, if they come to an understanding, a mutual understanding about how many minutes per game he's playing, I think this could really work out. I think if you can get 1,200-ish minutes out of him next year, I think that would be a nice goal to have. That's 20 minutes a game for 60 games. Or, if he plays a little fewer than 60 games, just load management and stuff, these low to mid 20s minutes wise. I mean, that's a great guy to have playing that kind of minutes. And then you ramp it up in the playoffs. Well, I personally would not want to mess with the starting line because last year, for all the warts the Warriors had last year, that starting 5 unit was one of the best in the NBA.
The best.
They just didn't get a chance to play a whole lot together.
Yeah.
But, like, I don't think you tinker with that personally. But, like, if they do decide to start Chris Paul, if Chris Paul starts, like, I also don't think that is, like, a huge negative because he's one of the best point guards of all time.
Right.
And, like, I don't think he's going to be playing mid-30s minutes-wise because just where he is at in his career. He averaged 32 minutes a game last year. I he wouldn't be playing more than that this year. So, I think there are a lot of positives with this CP3 deal. And look, Draymond Green's a professional. I know, like, obviously there was the punch with Jordan Poole, and he's had his moments with Kevin Durant and everyone. But, like, he knows, like, when it's time to win, he knows to put stuff aside, right? Like, Chris Paul and Stephen Curry, like, they obviously have a relationship going back to when he was at Davidson and everything. So, like, look, I don't expect there to be huge blowups between Draymond Green and Chris Paul, or Steph and Chris Paul, or Clay and CP3. Like, I'm not super concerned about that.
And just to piggyback off that, Chris Paul just last year as a 37-year-old player still averaged 32 minutes per game. I do not see that clip being maintained with the Warriors. I would expect more in the 25 range, keeping him fresh for the postseason. I had Dr. Nirav Pandya on this show, and I asked him, given the exemplary track record that Rick Celebrini has had as the head of the medical department for the Warriors, I thought a perfect case study was Otto Porter Jr., a player who was injury prone tremendously for much of his career, much more so than Chris Paul. And Celebrini had a plan for him where 25 minutes was the max, even in the postseason. We never saw him play more than 25, kept him fresh by not having him in back-to-backs. And I asked Dr. Pandya whether a similar pattern could be established with Chris Paul, and he thought, absolutely. He envisioned that being the similar strategy going forward with Chris Paul. So I'm with you. I think that if they play it smart, he will be available and ready for them, especially come the postseason.
And if I may add, Cyrus,
please,
I think that's why Cory Joseph is a really good signing for this team.
Dude.
Because, like, Steph's probably going to play, if he's healthy the whole year, he's going to play, 70 games maybe? Chris Paul, if he's healthy the whole year, probably like mid-60s at best. You're going to need a minutes eater, like an innings eater on the mound in baseball, just someone who's going to get you through, a doubleheader on a day. Look, like maybe you're getting your asses kicked 8-2, but someone needs to get some outs. ERA be damned. Like, Cory Joseph is more like a really, really good third-string point guard to have. And he's coming off a season in which he shot like 39% from three, and still gave you 7 points and 3.5 assists or something like that, and a 3.9 assist to turnover ratio, 3.88, I think it was technically. I'll round that up to 3.9 for in my state run take. So yeah, like I think he's huge to have. Like, I think Cory Joseph probably is gonna start a handful of games next year for Golden State.
I
think he's going to have to.
I love that signing.
And then look, maybe he plays 4 minutes a game in the playoffs, but like, you need someone to get you through the 82.
No, absolutely. And now I can criticize Ty Jerome without you squirming, Kevin.
I love Ty Jerome. I still love Ty Jerome.
I know, I'm sure you do, but I'm sure it was hard for you as I'm blasting him, you being an employee of the Warriors. It was probably putting you in a weird spot, but he's no longer an employee of the Warriors. All I will say is this. I think Cory Joseph is a vast upgrade from Ty Jerome. Here's the main reason why I blasted Ty Jerome so much, Kevin, and I don't know if you disagree with me on this or not. To me, if you want to be an NBA player, your strengths cannot be passing and ball handling. Those have to be secondary strengths.
He's also a 40% three-point shooter.
In a very small sample size, though. I mean, we're not seeing that number at a high clip, And here's where, like, I put the theory to test in terms of Ty Jerome last year. Every time he had a good game, I changed my Twitter handle to Cy Jerome. That Twitter handle never stayed active for consecutive games because he would have this great game, and I'm like, all right, I'll start buying in. And then he lay an egg the very next game. He might have been a 50, 40, 90 guy. I get it, but the sample size was so damn small. We'll see. We'll see how he does in Cleveland, but I'm relieved that Cory Joseph is now part of this team. There's a lot of were you doing some? Do you want to add something to that before we move on?
No, he was 39% from three. I oversold him a little bit. I apologize for the misinformation campaign.
A whopping percentage point. I think you're going to be forgiven for that. And look, the team loved him. I mean, we just saw a clip last week of Klay Thompson. I think he was in New York or somewhere in a gym shooting with Ty Jerome. There's no doubt as a chemistry guy, he was a fantastic fit. But to me, if you can't score efficiently or you can't play defense efficiently, for a team that's trying to win a championship, it's just not good enough for me. But it's all a moot point now, so it doesn't matter. We're gonna I'm gonna turn this into a 2-part show. Sit tight. I'm gonna play the open again, and then we're gonna rock and roll with Kevin Danna, the voice of the Santa Cruz Warriors. Next, this is Locked On Warriors.
You are Locked On Warriors, your daily Golden State Warriors podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for making Locked On Warriors your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get podcasts and on YouTube, where we do every live show, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by the FanDuel Sportsbook, the official sportsbook of Locked On. Make every moment more. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn today to get started, where Kevin Danna brought up the great point of VPN, baby. So if you're in California or a state where FanDuel is not legal, we're not endorsing this, but just giving you an option with VPN, you can still play FanDuel. You can follow Kevin Danna on Twitter at Kevo408, the voice of the Santa Cruz Warriors. First of all, for those in the chat, I'm going to get to all of your questions at the end of the show. I'm marking the ones that stick out, the questions, so don't think we're ignoring you. I'm saving that for the end of the show. Did you want to say something, Kevin? I'm sorry. Did you have your hand up?
Oh, no.
You're a student. Sorry.
No. Sorry. I realized I wasn't seeing the comments, and it was because I was not on the right tab.
Okay.
So now I'm looking through all the. We have a very interactive. You have a very interactive show, Cyrus.
Well, you used to be a part of this very regularly, and I hope at some point we can make that happen again on a more consistent basis. But no, the audience is amazing, dude. This program doesn't exist without them. Thank you to everyone.
Kai Soto question in here. Oh, this is unreal.
There's a what question?
There's a Kai Soto question.
There is, and that was one of the ones I starred. We will get to that. We're going to save that for the end of the show. Again, all your questions will be addressed, at least the ones that are specific to the G League or something that's pertinent to the show. So Chris Paul, are we done with that? Is there anything you want to add?
I don't have anything more to add.
What do you think about Dario Šarić? That was the Dub Nation was sitting tight for weeks, waiting for some sort of news from free agency. This Warriors team, even with Šarić, is still pretty small. The average height of an NBA player, to put it in perspective, is 6'7", and the Warriors starting lineup does not reach that. And they had no backup center. Trayce Jackson-Davis and Dario Šarić bring much needed size. I personally love the addition. I remember seeing him when the Warriors played the Thunder last year, thinking to myself, why is he not on the Warriors? And now he is. What are your thoughts on the Dario Šarić edition?
Look, I know he had what was it, the torn ACL that he got during the NBA Finals in 2021 with the Phoenix Suns. And so he missed an entire season. Last year was his first year back. I expect him to, kind of be better, kind of more like his pre-ACL self. I like the move a lot. If you think back now, this was very early in his career. Dario Šarić was seen as a centerpiece of the process era of Philadelphia 76ers. Joel Embiid came up, some people might remember this, came up with the nickname with the help of Philly fans, Feds. F for Fultz, Markelle Fultz, E for Embiid, D for Dario Šarić, and S for Ben Simmons. It was those four that were going to lead the Sixers to the promised land. Now, they never let him pass the second round, but he was seen as a part of that. You look back to his second season in the NBA, this guy was 14.6, 6.7, 2.6 points, boards, and assists on 5 attempts from deep per game, 39%. This guy can play. And I know that was 6 years ago now, but even last year, 46% from the field, 39% from downtown. He's a skilled big. It's a position that the Warriors desperately needed another skilled big or two. And I think they got 2 of them this year with Trayce and especially with Dario. That was a huge, huge signing and great value to get him at, right? For the veteran minimum, which
hell yeah.
Look, I think they needed him. I think that was a big, big signing. So I feel pretty decent knowing that the Warriors don't want to play big anyways. Look, they're never going to have an Orlando Magic lineup of Wendell Carter, Franz Wagner,
right?
A Bull. Well, now Bull's not on their team anymore,
Suns,
but they're not going to have this 3 7-footer starting lineup or 3 guys 6'10 plus. But for what they do, I think they have more reasonable size now.
Absolutely. Wholeheartedly agree. I've tried to explain this to my audience, and Kevin, maybe you could do so better. In your opinion, why do you think Steve Kerr has this affinity for smaller lineups and shorter players? What are your thoughts on that?
That's a good question. I don't know. I mean,
Thanks, sir.
Yeah.
Well, I've tried to explain it as this.
They won a title in 2022, essentially with like this kind of roster makeup. So,
right. I mean, you had Belly, you had Otto Porter Jr.
So like Šarić isn't exactly the same kind of player, but like more in that mold.
Right. I'm with you on that. My theory's always been similar to Don Nelson, is that smaller players are faster, they space the floor easier offensively, and maybe most importantly, they are a lot easier to play in a switch-heavy defense.
Yeah.
I'm that's my guess. I mean, Steve Kerr's never really given like a straight answer on that from what I've seen, but that's my theory on why they love to go small. And again, we'll get to all the chat questions again at the end of the show. When we come back, got to give some love to a sponsor real fast, but I want to get your opinion on the draft picks. The Warriors got 2 picks. Brandin Podziemski with the number 19 pick. I'm not been critical of him. There's no way you can judge anyone negatively, especially in summer league. That's just too small of a sample size. It's too immediate following the draft. So I'm not critical of Podziemski, but I am a little critical that the Warriors passed up on Cam Whitmore. I'd love to get your thoughts on what the Warriors with the number 19 pick and Trayce Jackson-Davis, who I've been just absolutely ecstatic about. First, got to give some love again to FanDuel. This is a 2-part show, so if you're watching the live version, apologies for the redundancy. If you're watching the recording, this might be the first time you're listening to this. Today's episode, again, is brought to you by Locked On Podcast Network's official sportsbook, FanDuel. And right now it's baseball season. It's hotter than a you-know-what. Take your first swing at betting on Major League Baseball and get 10 times your first bet amount bonus bets up to $200. That's right. If you bet $20, you can get back $200 in bonus bets, whether you win or lose. And as Kevin Danna has enlightened us today, if you get VPN, you might be able to play FanDuel regardless of where you are. I'm suddenly a lot more intrigued about VPN than I have been in a long time. And again, you could get $200 spent for whether you win or lose. That's incredible. And it's all on an app that's safe, secure, and super easy to use. Plus, when you win instantly. It's safe withdrawals. There's no better place to bet on Major League Baseball than FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. So sign up today and visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get up to $200 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon. FanDuel, the official partner of Major League Baseball.
You are Locked On Warriors, your daily Golden State Warriors podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for making Locked On Warriors your first listen every day. Everydayers, make sure you follow us on Twitter at Locked On Dubs. That's where we announce all of our guests, showtimes, etc. We're hoping to have a Warriors assistant coach on the show very soon. A man I consider a friend who is the best PR man in all of sports and has been for decades. Raymond Ritter is helping with that. Thank you so much, sir, in advance. Kevin Danna, the voice of the Santa Cruz Warriors, is joining us right now. You can follow him on Twitter at Kevo408. What are your thoughts on these draft picks, man? Let's start with Brandin Podziemski. That's the harder one of the two. Let's get that out of the way. Again, I have nothing against him. He might end up being a fantastic pick. I absolutely love the fact that the dude averaged over 8 rebounds a game as a 6'4", 6'5" guard. I love the fact that he shot over 43% from deep in his second year in college at Santa Clara. But again, passing up on Cam Whitmore, that kind of stung to me. What are your thoughts on those two situations? Cam Whitmore, whether you agree with the Warriors passing on him, and your thoughts on Brandin Podziemski, who plays just down the street from where you live?
Yeah, I mean, well, I'll say that the draft room watched Cam Whitmore a lot more than I watched him. So they have their reasons. I'll say I did the 2022 Nike Hoop Summit. I broadcast that game that Cam Whitmore was a part of. So that's like Dariq Whitehead, who was the MVP of that game. Cam Whitmore's in that game. Jarris Walker's in that game. Keontae George, Grady Dick. The 2023 draft class was like basically the 2022 Nike Hoop Summit. I really like Cam Whitmore. Watching that game, dude's explosive. I know there were injury concerns with Cam Whitmore, and apparently serious injury concerns. I don't know, and that's
which all went away the moment Summer League started, right?
yeah. But I can't. I wasn't in that room. I don't know why they chose Podziemski over Cam Whitmore. I will say, what Brandin Podziemski did at Santa Clara is like very rarely done.
Mm-hmm.
Like taking Santa Clara to the NIT, that is a feat in and of itself.
Agreed.
Like, I understand there's some other good players there, like a guy like Keyshawn Justice, really solid player there, and Carlos Stewart, I believe his name is, another really athletic dude they have, and they're working in. I think they were redshirting him this year.
Oh, did you freeze?
They got like another really good dude that's going to be playing. What was I?
Sorry,
not
you froze for a
here
second. That was weird. You're back. You're
Oh,
good. Go ahead. Sorry.
All right, but like to go from playing 4 minutes a game at Illinois to leading Santa Clara to the NIT is like a huge feat. And like, what, it was 19, 8, and 3. I think there was like only a handful of people that did that in the country last year in college basketball.
Ooh.
I am not concerned at all with his bad shooting percentage in summer league. You see this with rookies all the time, where it's like, yeah, they've been working out shooting the NBA 3, but they haven't been playing shooting the NBA 3.
Right.
You can work out all you want, but it's a different line. And like Jordan Poole was a sub 30% 3-point shooter in summer league his first year.
Oh, Steph. Steph's, what was he, like 27, right? Or something like that?
I saw something about that. I don't know the number off the top of my head, but like, I'm not worried about that. Yeah, he was turnover prone. He also did a lot of decent things with the ball too. He had that near triple-double, the 10, 9, and 10 game.
Yes, he did.
He knows how to make some really good reads. I thought his passing, when he wasn't turning it over, his passing did pop. And like, look, I think if he can rebound at the level he did in summer league, it shows you that 8.8 rebounds per game in Santa Clara wasn't exactly a fluke.
Right.
So like, look, is he going to play a lot this year? Considering who's ahead of him, probably not. But like, and I know they wanted guys who had a little more, experience and stuff. And like, he is a 2-year college player, even if he didn't play a ton at Illinois his first year. He is a little bit longer in the tooth than some of the other recent draft picks. So yeah, look, I don't have any serious judgment on Brandin Podziemski yet, right? Because
I don't think, how can you, right?
Yeah, you can't.
I'm not either. The only negative I have about that whole first round of the draft was just, again, passing up on Ken Whitmore, because I'd actually spent some time researching the draft this year, and it was shocking to see him fall. So when it got to number 19 and he was still available, I thought the Warriors were going to pounce. But you're absolutely right, dude. There's no way, in no way, shape, or form would it be logical, would it be rational, reasonable to judge a player at this point. It'd be ludicrous to do so.
Yeah. So like, I mean, I know, like, I thought you could see why the Warriors drafted him in the summer league. I thought you saw the flashes. Look, it wasn't like as consistent as some people wanted it to be, but like, I could tell you the Warriors coaches couldn't care less that he shot whatever low 26%, whatever it was. Like, they don't care at all about shooting percentage in the summer league. Like, I remember talking with Johnny West when Jordan Poole's summer league, a rookie summer league, and he couldn't have been less concerned about Jordan Poole not being able to hit shots in summer league. Like, they know the process, and they're like, yeah, he's where he needs to be in the process. So I got no beef with the pick. I got no beef with who he is right now. We'll see. Like, don't expect him to average 10, 5, and 5 as a rookie. He's not going to get the minutes. I expect I'll see him a decent bit in Santa Cruz next year, as they do with pretty much every rookie, especially someone who's drafted 19th overall, isn't a lottery pick. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing him for when he does get assigned to the C-Dubs.
I'm totally with you. And then there was the number 57 pick in the draft, which was Trayce Jackson-Davis. This was a player. I had Damon Bruce on the show a few weeks ago. He went to Indiana. He watches Indiana basketball games religiously. And I have another friend who also went to IU, watches these games religiously. And they both were telling me before the draft that they liked Trayce Jackson-Davis more so than even Jalen Hood-Schifino, who I picked with the Locked On mock draft for the Warriors. He ended up going to the Lakers. I love Trayce Jackson-Davis. It's incredible to me he fell that far in the draft. I think he can play immediately. What are your thoughts on Trayce Jackson-Davis as a member of the Warriors?
Yeah, again, so like with Brandin Podziemski, I'm not going to judge him one way or another, right? I will say I watched him play my Stanford Cardinal in the Maui Invitational when it was in Asheville, North Carolina due to COVID 2 years ago, and he put like 31 on them. I'm like, who the hell is Trayce Jackson-Davis, and why is he dominating us? Because I didn't watch I wasn't able to watch a ton of college basketball at the time.
Right.
But he stood out as a sophomore. I'm like, oh, this guy kind of looks like a pro right now. And I'll also say the Monday of draft week, I looked at 5 mock drafts, full 2-round mock drafts, and Trayce Jackson-Davis was in the first round in 4 of those 5 mock drafts. So look, I know that James Dunleavy being his agent and, the connection to Mike Dunleavy Jr., that certainly helped once he got to the second round. Like, look, if you're going to give him a 2-way contract, don't draft him, because we got a guarantee elsewhere. And so that helped. So he probably didn't fall, quote unquote, to 57, like if it wasn't for that stuff.
Right.
But he was a legitimate first round draft prospect.
Yeah.
And they got him with like the second to last pick in the draft. So that is incredible value. That is a great kind of maneuvering done by Mike Dunleavy there to pick him up at 57. That's incredible. And in the 2 games in Summer League, he was really good in the minutes he played. I saw him personally. I was there at his last game against the Toronto Raptors, and he looked really solid.
He does.
Another guy that's going to play a lot in Santa Cruz as a second-round draft pick, and like Podziemski, really interested to see him suit up in Surf City.
Oh, dude, I can't wait. I'm so ecstatic about the signing. And one of the few perks of the new CBA is being able to sign second-round picks to 4-year deals, which is what the Warriors did. So Trayce Jackson-Davis is not going anywhere anytime soon.
If only they could have done that with Gilbert Arenas back in the day.
Oh man,
back then he could only, to your point,
could only do a whole show on that. I still get pissed. It sounds like you are too. I still get pissed thinking about that. Like they just lost him because of some stupid rule. It's insane. All right, let's go to the chat. There's a lot of questions as we wrap things up here with Kevin Danna, the voice of the Santa Cruz Warriors. You can follow him on Twitter at Kevo408. Douglas Mikes writes, your parents just kept your room the way it is for the past 10 plus years?
Yeah. So I moved out of here October 2012. So yeah, almost 11 years. I'm an only child. So
there you go.
What else are they going to do with this room? Right. And I do have to come back and stay here whenever my mom's out of town. I got to stay here to take care of my dad. So I will say I don't like my bed anymore though. It's I don't know. It was bought for like when I was 10, so I've kind of outgrown it.
Is it a twin?
It's not what's the next thing?
It's full size.
I think this is a full size.
The one that you can fit 2 people, but it's not a queen, right? Yeah, I think that's a full size.
I got a queen at the crib, at my apartment. Yeah,
absolutely. Michael Stubblefield writes, did Guy Santos, who I thought looked great in Summer League, did he do enough in Santa Cruz in the Summer League to get an invite to training camp for one of the 2-way spots? Your thoughts?
So if I understand this correctly, if there were no contractual concerns, I'd say he's a surefire 2-way player. But I think Minas, his club in Brazil, still technically owns his rights. And so he would have to either be on the roster or just stashed in the G League. And so I think that kind of muddies the waters a little bit. That being said, what?
Is it TBD for Guy Santos, basically? We don't know yet?
Yeah, I don't think we know yet one way or another. But I think he's an NBA. I think he is a 2-way quality player right now. And I think he's an NBA rotation player in 3 years.
Okay.
I love Guy Santos. I felt this, I think he could be the best player in their 2022 draft class out of Patrick Baldwin and Ryan Rollins. He could. I'm not saying he's going to, because I do think Baldwin and Rollins have a nice future.
Gee passes the eye test. Wouldn't you agree with that? Like he's a big physical dude. He doesn't. I don't see negatives with him other than maybe inexperience.
And the thing about Guy Santos, he works his ass off. Like he improved his vert by 3 inches mid-season last year. In the middle of the G League season, got 3 extra inches on his vert due to all the work he was doing in the weight room training, strength and conditioning with Andre Matson, the strength and conditioning guy, sports performance coach, whatever the official title is. Like Andre Matson did a hell of a job with him. So like Guy Santos, he's a player. And like, I really believe he's an NBA player.
There you go. So it doesn't look like this year will be the year where we see him, but for the future of the Warriors, I agree with you. I think there is a place for him. It's just a matter of experience, time. I think time and just the right opportunity is what the impediment is there. Douglas Mikes is curious if spending time in the G League will have the same positive impact on Podziemski that it had on Jordan Poole. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think for the most part, like a lot of rookies have benefited from time in the G League with Santa Cruz. Obviously, I have a biased opinion on that. I think it's also a little too early to say like how, like I think we're too far away from like even any sort of prognostication about what the G League can do for Brandin Podziemski. He's got to get into training camp first with Golden State. And that, like, how does he look going up against Chris Paul, Stephen Curry, Cory Joseph every day, right? Like, that'll give you more of an idea of how ready he is to contribute than, getting near triple-double against the New Orleans Pelicans in Summer League.
I can't wait for the season, man. I can't believe we have like months before this start. I'm really excited.
Yeah, I need a little break, man.
I know you do. You do. Yeah, you do. I've been having my breaks. You've been working nonstop until like a week ago. So, I don't understand this. Gregory Carter writes, "What is happening with Kai Soto?"
Yeah, I don't.
Why is he such a popular name? I have no idea who he is. What's the story there? Do you know?
Kai Soto was supposed to be originally on the G League, the first ever G League Ignite team with Jalen Green and Jonathan Kuminga. He was announced as one of the guys. One of the reasons why he's popular is because basketball is incredibly popular in the Philippines. And he's a native of the Philippines.
Okay.
And so any player who gets NBA adjacent, is just going to have a huge following being from the Philippines.
Okay.
He also played in the NBL for us, for the Adelaide 36ers. And he's been there the last couple of years. And he's a legitimate I'm looking at his numbers right now. He has legitimate rotation numbers in the NBL. He's not from what I've seen, he's not an NBA player, but he is the closest that the Philippines has had to a Philippine-born player.
Gotcha.
Making it to the NBA, and he's only 21 years old. And so you combine that, he was in Summer League with Orlando this year. I mean, played a little bit in a couple of games, nothing to write home about, but that's why there is a fascination with Kai Soto.
Yeah, I mean, it's not just the Bay Area. Like someone in the chat wrote, there's a lot of Filipinos in the Bay Area. Probably true, but he's nationally, he gets attention. I mean, there's one of some of the Locked On meetings we have. There's a running joke that if you just include Kai Soto in the headline of your podcast episode, you're going to get thousands more views. And I thanks for explaining that, because honestly,
I'll just say from my experience in playing basketball in San Jose, there's a great Filipino hoop culture in San Jose. I played with a lot of really good Filipino basketball players growing up in San Jose and stuff, and so yeah, it's a huge sport in the Philippines. So you put all that together, there's a great Filipino population in the Bay Area. And that's where you're going to get the Kai Soto love.
There you go. AC in the chat writes, you got a new video title. I don't like gimmicks though for success, but I don't. We'll see. But Mr. Holder writes, how do you feel? We'll wrap things up, Kev. I know you got to go, Kev. We got just a minute or two to go here. How do you feel about a second unit? And this is what likely is going to be the second unit for the Warriors, of Chris Paul, Gary Payne II. I know Clay. I didn't see Clay in there. Well, he's suggesting Klay Thompson coming off the bench. Kuminga and Dario Šarić. In reality, Clay is going to start, but the likely second unit will be Moses Moody instead of Clay.
Well, no, so second unit doesn't necessarily mean all bench players.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
So like Clay can start and be in the second unit.
Right.
It's just
like for him, yeah.
Like starting the second quarter, he's going to take his break earlier than Stephen Curry, is basically what Mr. Holder's saying.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's a better second unit than what they had last year. I think Jonathan Kuminga is going to take a big step forward. I think Moses Moody is going to take. I think Moses Moody is just going to continue to be Moses Moody and just a solid role player. And look, I think Jonathan Kuminga for vast stretches of last year, from like December on, for the most part, maybe had another lull after, but was significantly better than he was his rookie year. Even if the numbers don't say it, like the raw counting numbers, I thought he was significantly better.
Yeah, I'm with you. To me, I don't know if you agree with this or not, but to me, if you just give Kuminga the opportunity, he will deliver. Meaning, like don't pull the leash if he has a bad start to a game. Let him play through that. Like, give him his 25 plus minutes a game. He will reward you.
You can do that much easier in the regular season than you can in the playoffs. Like,
right.
I didn't necessarily disagree with Kuminga like not playing a ton in the postseason. Like, you gotta win, and if he's not doing the things in that role that you need him to do to win, then you got to play somebody else. And
is that company speak, or is that your speak?
No, I mean, all right. I mean, I'll accept it as company speak, but I do genuinely believe that. Like, if you need Kuminga to rebound and he's not getting you a single rebound in a game,
right,
like that's not a good thing.
Do you? Let me ask you this: do you think Kuminga, like, if Kerr decides he's only going to play Kuminga if Kuminga's like going to take on a power forward center / like kind of a big inside type role? I don't see him as that player. I mean, I know he can.
I don't necessarily either.
Yeah. So, but I guess like what I'm trying to say is like I don't think you should not play him if he's not, being a rebounding machine out there. That's just not his game. I don't know.
I think it needs to be more of his game just because of how athletic he is.
True.
Right?
That's
like
fair.
He has the capability to get you 7-8 rebounds a game just based off like his body type and like athletic. So like, yeah, in the regular season, I say let him play through his mistakes. Like, he needs to play through mistakes.
Yeah.
In the postseason, it's a different story. And I look, I think he's deserving of. Like, I haven't counted up the 240 minutes that are available on the court time, he split out throughout the team. But I do think he's worth at least mid-20s minutes.
Easily, yeah.
So, yeah, I want to see a lot of Kuminga next year.
I know you got to run. Zach H was flooding the chat with trading Kevon Looney plus picks for Mitchell Ross. No, yeah, what are you doing, man? I just didn't want him to think we were ignoring him. So, any last thoughts? I know you can follow you on Twitter at Kevin4Wade. Anything you want to promote?
Yeah, I don't know if something froze for me on my end when you were reading Looney and picks for Mitchell Robinson. I don't know if my response came in, but I do want to reiterate: no chance in hell.
Yeah, we got it.
Okay, good, because I love Kevon Looney to death. And I think most Warrior fans do. And I think they realize how important and vital he is to winning basketball. Just because he does not look like your prototypical center doesn't mean he helped win them an NBA title last year. He helped win an NBA title in 2018. He was a big reason why they got to the finals in 2019. Like, I should say the Warriors.
You can say that. You work for the Warriors. I sometimes slip up and say that, and I immediately back.
But I'm not coaching or playing. I don't like saying we. I don't like saying we.
Oh, totally. Kevin, I love you, man. I think everyone who watches this knows that. You know that. Let's get you back on soon. Sorry we didn't get to all the questions. I know there's people were asking about Lester Quinones and training camp. We'll save that for a future show. Kevin, love you, brother. We'll do dinner now that you're finally free. And we'll get you back on the show soon, man, if you're down.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Love you, man.
Thank you, Side Guy.
And thank you, everyone, for joining the show today. Thanks again to Kevin, Danna. We'll be back at it soon. Peace out. Laters.